In this topic, I'll talk about CTR design strength. Last year, we've conducted a survey with customers worldwide to understand their technical interest. More than 100 customers participated in that survey, and we found that the most popular technical interest among customers is a comparison between CTR and its competitors. Due to time constraints, it's difficult to share the comparison data in detail here. However, I'd like to share the key reasons why there are differences between CTR and competitors, particularly those who don't have the experience of oil supply. There are several benefits and advantages to having oil supply experience. The first benefit is feedback from real vehicle testing and field activities. The real vehicle testing and the field activities are conducted on such a large scale that it's challenging for a single component company in the aftermarket business. I mean, it costs an arm and a leg. However, the feedback from real vehicle testing and field activities enables practical improvements. This feedback provides a valuable opportunity to enhance ball joint design, manufacturing processes, and the quality management systems. The second benefit is access to detailed ball joint information from larger scale of collaboration. As you know, a vehicle is made up of more than tens of thousands of components. The ball joint is just one of these parts. Understanding the information and requirement that a ball joint receives and the role it needs to play is something that automakers, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 suppliers work on collaboratively. Through large-scale collaboration and research, the requirement for ball joint become highly precise, leaving no room for gaps. Certain insights can only be gained through a direct involvement in oil supply. It's very critical to understand every single word and every single requirement from A to Z, not only from the suspension system, but also from the vehicle itself. I don't think that this is something that a single component company can handle on its own in the aftermarket business. The third advantage is various global experiences. CTR has been supplying ball joints and working not just with one or two automakers, but with almost all global automakers worldwide. For example, GM, Ford, Chrysler, Tesla, and Lucid in North America, BMW, Daimler, Land Rover, Jaguar, Renault, Fiat, Peugeot, and others in Europe, Hyundai Motor, Kia Motor, KG Mobility, and Samsung in Korea, as well as some Japanese and Chinese automakers. CTR has encountered various environmental, road, and driving conditions, and have accumulated a lot of data, knowledge, and experience from these. That allows us to create a kind of Bible for ball joint eventually. Without the experience of supplying oil automakers, it would be challenging for a single component company to handle all these tasks on its own in the aftermarket business. According to the survey, the customer's second most popular technical interest is counterfeit parts. We don't have complete information about all counterfeit parts in the world, though we had a couple of chances to inspect them last year. Due to insufficient data, we cannot say all counterfeit parts have the same issues, but the ones we have investigated have some critical problems like this. The first issue is significant differences in critical dimensions. Some dimensions on the ball joint are very important. For example, taper dimensions on the ball stud and certain dimensions on the ball joint housing are in direct contact with the mating parts, such as the steering knuckle and the control arm. If these dimensions do not meet the specifications based on the original car's requirements, the ball joint's lifespan will dramatically fall short of expectations, potentially lasting only 1/20th to 1/10th of the intended warranty period. We found that some counterfeit parts had incorrect taper dimensions on the ball stud, leading to a fatigue life that was 1/20th of the required durability. The second issue relates to the basic performance of the ball joint. As you know, the ball joint is a crucial component of the steering and suspension system. This system requires the ball joint to provide an appropriate operating angle. For example, if the system required a 28-degree tilting angle, but the ball joint only allows a 27 degrees, just 1 degree release, the bolster could repeatedly come into contact with the housing. Under repeated maximum driving conditions, this could lead to a permanent deformation in the short term or even breakage in the long term. This can result not only in a decline in vehicle performance, but also in serious safety accidents. But the problem is that most people don't know how many degrees of tilting angle its vehicle requires. The third issue is structure strength. The ball zone is installed between the steering knuckle and the suspension system. It is designed to transfer loads from the steering knuckle to the suspension system. However, if the ball zone does not have the sufficient structure strength to withstand the actual load from the knuckle, it can become permanently deformed, break, or even separate from the vehicle in a short period of time. We found that some counterfeit parts were made with the incorrect heat treatment steel components or even had the heat treatment removed. This means that these counterfeit parts have a significantly lower structure strength compared to the original parts, potentially compromising vehicle safety. The fourth issue is durability, such as abrasion wear durability, fatigue durability, sealing boot durability, and corrosion resistance. In fact, some counterfeit parts use the poor quality grease inside the ball zone, leading to a shorter lifespan. Additionally, the rough surface finish of ball accelerates the significant abrasion wear on the ball seat. Steel materials with high impurity content were used, resulting in a reduction in fatigue life. The sealing boot was made from incorrect rubber material or had a poor design, allowing contaminants to enter the joint in short period. Furthermore, some critical components had insufficient corrosion-resistant coatings, significantly reducing the expected lifespan of the ball zone. So what I just mentioned here, significant differences in critical dimensions, basic performance, structure strength, and the durability are very critical when selecting a ball zone, especially in terms of safety and durability. However, from a customer's perspective, it might be difficult to distinguish that at the time of purchase, whether or not the ball zone have these issues without the professional inspection. Recent counterfeit parts have reached a level where it is extremely difficult to distinguish them from genuine parts only based on appearance. For example, the color, shape, dimensions, and the packaging box are almost identical to CTR genuine parts, making it hard for even experts to identify them at a glance. Many of these counterfeit parts are so authentic looking that even experts cannot tell the difference at a glance. That's why we need to come up with effective countermeasures for this issue. So far, I've talked about the strength of a CTR design. To briefly summarize, the strength of a CTR design ultimately comes from our extensive experience gained through supplying to oil automakers worldwide. Even if you are not currently supplying ball joint to a particular oil automakers or specific car model, it's not an issue. We have a comprehensive knowledge in nearly all aspects, including design, testing, production, and quality management systems. For example, we clearly understand which design factors need to be reviewed in advance, what tests must be carried out, which materials should be used, how to manage suppliers, and what inspection processes are required. We also have a clear understanding of what global oil automakers expect, the responsibility that a ball joint supplier must fulfill, and the global trend in ball joint technology. Due to time constraints, I was only able to provide a brief overview of the topics covered in this session. However, in the next seminar, I will present more detailed data and test results comparing CTR products with competitors and counterfeit parts, which are topics we've shown the most technical interest in. Then you might be able to see detailed comparative data on CTR's advantages over competitors without oil experience and the specific potential issues of counterfeit parts.